Hey, it's Dave and Lillie from Dave's HSB, and in this video we're going to talk about the 2024 deer season and go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. So hope you stay tuned. Dave, Lillie out. Hey, it's Dave, and deer season came to a close for me this past Friday, and I just wanted to, I guess, do a wrap up of the season. I always like to reflect on the good and the bad and ugly of a deer season, and go over maybe some things that happen that will help steer the path forward and give me a direction to go. So yeah, I thought we'd do that. So the 2024 season started in October with archery, and then ended with rifle season in January 5th. So, and my last day was January 3rd. I had other obligations the 4th, and the 5th is a Sunday. I don't hunt on Sundays. So yeah, I kind of wrapped it up. So I thought, well, let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of the season. So the good was, I was blessed to get 2 deer. I thought, and it would happen in a way that has not happened to me or for me before, where 2 deer just walk up to the tree I'm in, and I was able to harvest both of them. So one right after the other. Usually when you shoot, the other deer scatter, this deer just followed in its footsteps. So that was a real good. The other good was, so this gun, this is the Remington 740. This gun was made in the most likely sometime in the 1950s. I guess they have a 10-year period where they made them, and it encompasses most of the span of the 1950s. The serial number kind of looks like it was like in the middle of the 1950s, like maybe 56, 57 kind of time frame. And it's in really good condition. I mean, it looks really nice. I had no issues with it, and it harvested both deer. It was able to take down. I used it to take down both deers. Shoots a 30-06, so it's very effective. And so I thought that was great. I thought that was a true good thing. I didn't know going into it that I had a good idea from shooting it on the range how it was going to perform, but you never know. But I took it out in cold weather, and I didn't take it in the rain, but always in it's a pretty really cold weather, and it did just fine, and had no issues with it. So I was really pleased with that. To me, it's fascinating that a gun that's like almost 80 years old still functions that well. And I get there are other ones out there that are that old that still function that well, but I get a kick out of it. So that was a plus. So good thing there. So the other plus was the food plot in the middle of the woods during October and November was really, really good. It was drawing a lot of deer. It was really green. It grew well. The rains in that time frame, especially late October, early November, did really well for it. And while we're doing this, you're seeing footage of all this while I'm talking about this. But so that was a real plus. And so of the conditions of the food plot during that time frame, October, November, it did really well. Now, so those were the goods. So some of the bads was I missed almost all archery season because I was sick. I was sick from middle September all the way through pretty much all of November. I really didn't start feeling better until the middle of December, and that's when I started turning the corner and getting better. I had something, some kind of infection in my sinuses and in my chest, and it just wouldn't go, and it was draining me of energy and just made everything miserable. I did my, on the other bad, it caused me to miss missed my trip to Dave's house, and he lives in Ohio, but he has a tract of land that he leases in West Virginia that he hunts, and I didn't get to go because I was really sick that time period, and I couldn't go. In fact, I only did a couple sits of archery hunt. I couldn't really do it. So I thought that was a real bummer. The other bad was now on the bad side. So the bad side of the food plots were, one, the food plot in the pinelands, it never really took off. When it started to grow a little bit of grass, it didn't have enough to sustain it, and the deer ate it right down. And so it never really did any value. Definitely proved that it's too small, and that for what I'm needing it to do, it couldn't do it this past year. And part of it too was I wasn't able to do the right things to get it prepared and have the seed down when it needed to be down. Everything was done at a rush because I was sick, and so that was a real bummer. So the food plot in the pinelands, it was not a good thing. The food plot in the middle of the woods, so although it was good in October and November, especially late October and middle October, I suppose all the way through most of November. But once we had a couple hard freezes near the early part of December, we had a couple days, like 1 week, where it was in the 20s every night. After that, it really struggled. The deer hit it hard and ate it down, and it just couldn't recover in the cooler temperatures. Now, I blame myself on that, because I bought a cheaper brand of winter oat, and it just isn't as hardy. The other brand that I use is an Arctic winter oat, and it recovers much better. And if I had used that, I think it would have done better. But anyway, so by gun season, the food plot in the middle of the woods was not doing very well. I missed muzzleloader season altogether here in Tennessee. I went to the Virginia and hunted. I didn't feel well the whole time. It's good to see my friends, but for a hunting experience, it wasn't very positive. That was a real bad part too. And then coming back, I wasn't able to hunt at all muzzleloader here in Tennessee, so that was a bummer. Now the ugly. So there are some uglies, and these are things that are really going to, I think, drive the future a little bit. One, we talked a little bit about it, but the food plots did not provide a food source in December during gun season. In the past, they had, and you could pretty much rely on one or the other, as a place where the deer would gather, and you could, hunt the trails and stuff like that as the deer would move between food plots or two food plots. The way my land is, it's 23 acres, and it's a long rectangle, and so it's not really wide, but it is pretty long. Some deer do bed and stay their whole lives on the property, but for the most part, the deer is passed through from my food plot or woods to other places. And for hunting, you got to have something that triggers the deer to want to come to your property. And by the end of the season, I didn't have anything to offer, so they were going elsewhere. And that's the way it goes. During the daylight hours, it was hard to see deer on my property in December. I struggled, and part of that too leads into the second problem, is that so I'm getting older, and I know that my ability to haul a deer, through the woods 100 yards after that's just going to completely wear me out. So I have to, kind of plan where to engage a deer and hope that's where it happens. And food plots aren't working right, it really limited my places of engagement. So I've got a couple solutions in mind to help that. But yeah, so dragging a deer is a bit of a challenge, and even if I get the deer to the trail to put it on the ATV, a bigger deer is just really hard to do, and so it, changes how I had to do some things. One of the deer I shot, when I shot the two, one of them I field dressed in the woods so that I could more easily carry it or drag it and load it, drag it out of the woods and load it on the ATV. Even with that, it still was a bit of a chore. Not that it should be easy. I'm not saying it should be easy, but it's just a realization that as I get older, I just can't lift and do things like I did before. So I've got to make some modifications to how I do things, and that's what this leads to. The other thing that I realized is my trails and places where I have strategically set up to engage deer are limited if the conditions aren't right. And so because of the food plots, the conditions weren't necessarily right, which meant that I had to go, to find the deer, I had to go into woods and deeper areas and stuff like that. And as I'm sitting there hunting in some of those spots, I'm like, if I shoot a deer in here, I don't know how I'm going to get it out, but I would do my best. I like to rely on my ATV to help, but there's some areas that it was so thick I couldn't take an ATV in. So, which leads me to two things that I really need to do this year. One is I need to focus on expanding the food plot up in the pinelands, making it bigger. There are a lot of deer up there, and they hit that food plot really hard. There's nothing, because there's nothing left of it, but it needs to be bigger. So I need to maybe make it 3 times as large as it is for a starter. And then long-term plan is to also expand the food plot in the middle woods. Try to make them both pretty decent size, and then I want to set up elevated blinds, but the box blinds, hard blinds, that I can sit in that are far off the food plots, so I have access to see the deer move on trails and stuff, as well onto the food plots, and plan on hunting from those 2 spots. Versus that's long term, because as I get older, climbing trees and stuff like that are going to become less of an option. So I'm trying to think of the future of how I would engage deer hunting, and knowing that I've got to make some changes now, plan for changes now, so that I'm set. And so I think that's a series of changes that need to happen. Expanding the food plots and then building these box blinds. And so it's an elevated blind made out of like plywood and 2x4s and 2x6s, and gives you ability to drive your ATV underneath and park it underneath the blind, and then have everything concealed, and just spend a good amount of time up in the blind hunting. I think that's the path I'll go for the future, and I'm not there yet. So I'll still have my climbers, and I like climbing the trees. I like being up in the tree hunting, so I'll still do that. I'll do that till I can't. I took down one ladder stand. I got another ladder stand to take down and get. I'm not going to use those. I don't think I'll use those 2 ladder stands anymore. They're the narrow seat, and they just don't provide. They don't provide the hunting comfort that I want right now. So probably won't use those. The other thing I need to do is make a trail, 2 trails. One trail that goes when you cross the bridge. The current trail kind of forks off to the right. There is a logging trail that forks to the left. Continue down that logging trail and let it wrap up along the edge of my property. And so finish that trail. And then the other is at the bottom where the creek is. There's one more bridge to put that bridge in, and then go all the way across down to the corner, and then build a trail from the corner all the way up to the other corner. So it kind of would make like an L, and then that would be the last trail I would do. So those are 3 things, well, I guess 4 things really to work on. Expanding the food plot in the pinelands, expanding the food plot in the middle of the woods, building the 2 box blinds, and expanding the trails, or adding 2 new trails. So all that came out of some of the issues I had this year with hunting. So hey, that's my deer season 2024, but it also lays out kind of the plans that I got for coming up for 2025. I feel good. I'm much healthier than I've been, and I have much more energy than I did. I mean, I'm not like a 20-year-old, but I can do things again, and don't feel so tied down because I get so exhausted. I'm not having that issue anymore. So I look forward to 2025 and doing these things, and I call it preparing for the 2025 season, but really it's just getting the property in a position so that we can hunt and try to be successful in hunting. So hey, I know you have a lot of options out there on YouTube to choose, so I appreciate you choosing this channel to watch. It means a lot. I do have a link to tie into a product page where I have some knives, and so I'll show you one that I highlighted on the. This one has the gut hook, but so this is a hunter folder, and I actually skinned a deer, one of the deers with the hunter folder, but it didn't, not the one with the gut hook. This one is just a straight. These are good little knives, and so I encourage you to take a look at them. Come in a nice leather case, and the price is, I think, very reasonable for knives. The other one that I'll highlight is these little puka knives. All-purpose kind of handy knives. They're very well made. Got a really nice handle, good balance. Come with a good holder. It's got a nice side grip on it, so you can wear it on your belt. Sticks in place. So yeah, that's another good little knife. So I encourage you to take a look at the product page you got, and you know, these knives are the real deal. So I think you'll enjoy them. And so the other thing is, like I always say, when we finish out a video, I talk about doing something kind. And if you hang around to the end, you hear that. Maybe I should do it at the beginning, but I don't know. It seems best way to conclude a video is to talk about that. So I think it's important that we as people, when we're out and about, if we see an opportunity to share some kindness, that we do it and take advantage of the opportunity to do that and make this world a little bit better place. It doesn't take a whole lot of everybody doing a little bit of kindness, and then it makes a whole lot of difference. So I encourage that. I'm a huge believer in that acts of kindness, acts of sharing an act of joy, showing the love for your neighbor, all those things can really make a difference. And I think each of us should try to make a difference. So yeah, so I conclude with that, and all my videos, and I'll continue to do that. So I appreciate you watching, and do ask that you take the time to do some kind for somebody. It only takes a few minutes of your time. It takes some effort, and sometimes more effort, and sometimes not as much effort, but it will take effort. But the results, you will never know the full impact of your act of kindness. There are so many behind the scenes things that happen that bring a lot of joy to people's lives because somebody did something kind to them. So, encourage you to do that. So, thanks for tuning in.